My narcissist boyfriend destroyed pictures of my deceased mother because I asked for a cheese toastie, so as revenge I made him bald. My boyfriend and I's relationship has been hanging on by a thread for a very long time. Most of this is down to him being manipulative and unsupportive. He likes to do things such as give backhanded compliments like, "That makeup looks really good on you, wear it more," or "You were looking very skinny today," and really emphasizes the today. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Other things he does include being extremely petty with money. He will ask me to pay him back money for coffee or takeout to the cent whenever he buys it for me. However, the main problem that we have in our relationship is his anger issues. They are very bad. This man loves video games, and he routinely buys a new controller every 2 weeks or so because he broke the last one. If he is in a bad mood, I do my best to stay out of the way because I know I will be verbally abused if I do not. Just last week he had an outburst over overcooking chicken and he proceeded to get angry at me for this, calling me incompetent and shouting at me. Now on to the main issue. My mother died 3 years ago and it has been very hard for me ever since. I would say I am doing a lot better and have recovered a lot, but there are still days where I think about her and get down. My boyfriend does not support me during these days. They happen randomly, sometimes once a month, sometimes twice a month, and sometimes no days like that occur for a few months, but when they do it's bad. I like to stay in bed all day and not do much as I physically cannot force myself out of bed. Well, last week was my mother's death anniversary. This day is understandably very hard for me, so I was downstairs on the couch, watching a movie and feeling down. I asked my boyfriend, who was sitting across from me, if he could make me a cheese toastie. He was already in a bad mood because he had broken another controller earlier that day. When I asked for the toastie, he just exploded. He sternly said that I should do it myself, that I am lazy, that I am using my mother's death as an excuse to lounge around and do nothing, that he is supposed to be my slave whenever this happens, that I do nothing but feel sorry for myself over something that happened over 3 years ago. He was borderline screaming this at me, and it made me feel so crappy about myself that I actually started crying. He then continued, saying that what I am doing is guilt-tripping and that I am crying crocodile tears. He then ran upstairs and I stayed downstairs, still crying. I then heard loud banging and smashing, as well as the sound of glass falling and breaking. I ran upstairs myself to see what was going on, and what I saw made me freeze in the moment. I saw him in our room, destroying pictures of my mother. I had a photo of my mother and I on my nightstand. He destroyed it. I had a whole entire box full of my mother's handwritten letters, pictures of her, pictures of me and her, some rings and jewelry she owned. He was destroying this box, ripping apart the letters, smashing the jewelry with a hammer, and ripping the pictures too. I stood there frozen. Every part of me wanted to run over to him and make him stop, try to get him to stop, but my fear froze me. I started crying and kept repeating, "Please stop," over and over. But he wouldn't. He just kept destroying it all while yelling about how this was the problem. The fact I'm unwilling to let go of the past. I left the house as this was happening and sat on a park bench while crying for a while. A random stranger came up and talked to me when she saw me crying. That was nice. I went back to my house a few hours after and went straight upstairs to see the damage. And when I saw it, I broke down. I knew most of it would be destroyed. I knew most of the photographs I had of my mother as well as the other things would be ruined, but I was hoping he would at least leave some. But no. Every letter and picture was ripped, every frame was destroyed, and every ring, earring or necklace was smashed with the hammer. It was all still on the floor. I scooped up as much stuff as I could and placed it in a bag. I felt numb at that moment and I felt scared of him too. He was downstairs in the house not even acknowledging me. To me, our relationship was over. I had already taken him back 3 times. He was a narcissist who would try to sweet-talk me into taking him back after this, but I was not going to let him. I made my mind up. But I also wanted him to feel pain. I looked at a ripped picture of my mother and I saw her. She would not be proud of me. She was strong. I needed to be strong like her. She was an eye for an eye kind of person. Although that was not my nature, I knew for the sake of my mother it needed to be. So I planned some form of revenge. Over the next few days I acted like nothing was wrong. That is all it took to convince him everything was okay. I spent a few days hiding my disgust for him and it worked. I even brought myself to have intimacy with him one night to really convince him I still loved him. And a few days later, I secretly bought some hair remover. Now, my ex-boyfriend loves his hair. It was not very long, but it was well kept and he took great pride in always styling it and looking after it. He destroyed something precious of mine. It was my turn to destroy something precious of his. The night it arrived I emptied his shampoo and put in hair removal instead. I also spent that night packing and getting ready to leave. The next morning I woke up before him and made a comment to him about how the smell of his hair when shampooed really turns me on. This got him to tell me he was about to go shower and will be right back. As soon as he left for the shower, I grabbed my bag and left quietly. As I was leaving I texted him saying I am done with the relationship, that how he disrespected me for years has been unacceptable and him destroying my mother's belongings was the straw that broke the camel's back. I also told him to enjoy his new hair. This happened this morning and he has tried to reach out a few times, but I blocked him as soon as he did. I'm currently staying with my sister.